Welcome, 8th graders, to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly pumped you're hanging out with us, because we are definitely not about to just sit around and read some dusty old literature today. No way. Today, we're actually treating poetry like a full-on masterclass in music production. We're stepping right into the studio to hunt down those hidden beats, the driving rhythm, and the exact cadences that are buried right there inside the words.
You know, Psalm 33:3 tells us, "Sing to him a new song. Play skillfully on strings with loud shouts." I absolutely love that, because reading poetry, it's exactly like playing skillfully on a set of strings. It's not just about decoding boring words stuck on a page. It's about creating an entire experience. It's a literal auditory performance that you really have to hear out loud to truly understand. So here's our roadmap for the session. We'll hit the music of poetry, the steady heartbeat, breaking rhythm, flowing like a stream, reading like a poet, and we'll wrap up with smart minds and spiritual peace. Let's get into it. Section 1, the music of poetry. The really big idea we need to grab hold of here is that poetry is meant to be felt right in your body, not just scanned over with your eyes. And what's super interesting is realizing that rhythm isn't just some fancy decoration a poet tacks on at the very end. Rhythm literally is the mood. It completely sets the tone and the pace of whatever you're reading. A steady, predictable rhythm is going to make a poem feel calm and formal, while a choppy rhythm immediately injects this crazy tension and urgency right into your veins. And line breaks? Well, those are basically the poet's sheet music. They tell you exactly when to pause, when to speed up, or slow down, even if the sentence itself isn't actually over yet. Understanding this little trick lets you hear the poem exactly how the poet intended. Section 2. The steady heartbeats. Think of this as track 1 on our playlist. We're going to take a look at William Shakespeare, who is pretty much the absolute master of the elegant, controlled beat. But to understand his style, we really have to understand meter. So meter is simply a repeated rhythmic pattern in poetry. Think of it kind of like the foundational drum loop that a producer lays down before adding any cool synths or vocals over the top. It's the rhythmic grid the poet uses to build their entire argument. And Shakespeare's absolute favorite drum loop was iambic pentameter. Now, what does that mean? It means there are exactly 10 syllables per line, alternating between unstressed and stressed beats. It sounds exactly like a human heartbeat. Da-dum, da-dum. The word iambic refers to that specific 2-syllable da-dum pair, and pentameter just means there are 5 of those pairs jammed into every single line. Let's actually hear how this sounds in practice. Listen really closely to the stresses as I read this out loud. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Notice how perfectly that matches the 5-beat heartbeat. Da-da-dum, da-dum, 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 da-dum. 5 solid accents, right? This super steady scaffolding is exactly what gives Shakespeare's poetry its poised, persuasive tone. And because this beat is just so incredibly regular, any tiny little variation he decides to throw in stands out powerfully. It signals a sudden rush of emotion or a quick shift in thought. It basically ensures his core message lands clearly and sticks right in your brain. Moving on to Section 3, breaking rhythm. So what happens when we don't want to be elegant? Welcome to Track 2, where the beat gets rebellious, sharp, and honestly a little dangerous. Let's compare our styles for a second. On one hand, we've got the regular meter we just looked at. It's controlled, it's safe, it's very poised. But on the flip side, we have broken rhythm. Broken rhythm takes those lines and slashes them into short, really quick bursts. It's a lot like jazz. It's syncopated, which means it drops the accent exactly where you don't expect it. And an absolute master of this technique is the poet Gwendolyn Brooks. Check out this quick snippet from her poem, We Real Cool. The lines go, we, jazz, June, die soon. The rhythm is totally clipped. Doesn't it sound almost like snapping pool cues? Ending a line abruptly on the word we is this incredibly swaggering, cocky pose. And then she violently drops the action verb jazz right onto the very next line. It creates this incredibly fast, precarious momentum that just builds and builds and builds until it hits a hard, fatal stop at die soon. The beat is suddenly just over. Breaking rhythm like this isn't an accident. It's a super deliberate choice to perfectly mirror the risk and the attitude of the subject matter. Okay, Section 4, flowing like a stream. Now, let's all just take a deep, calm breath and let our voices smooth out completely. Welcome to Track 3, where we're exploring the beautifully serene style of poet Mary Oliver. She is totally famous for her use of something called enjambment. Enjambment happens when a line just spills right over into the next one without any punctuation at all. So while your eye might see a line break right there on the page, the grammar and the syntax of the sentence just push you continuously forward without a full stop. And this is a brilliant illustration of how the form perfectly matches the content. Enjambment creates this really contemplative, inviting cadence. Because you don't have to reset your breath at every single line, it feels like one single continuous journey. Oliver uses this trick to literally mimic the act of walking through nature. You just keep moving, you keep noticing new little details, you're calm, but you're purposeful. You're adding image after image, almost like a gentle, unbroken current flowing in a stream. Section 5. Reading like a poet. All right, we've studied the tracks, so now it's time to hand over the producer's toolkit so you can start mixing this stuff yourself. Here are your 3 quick annotation moves for literally any poem you ever encounter. Step 1. Mark the beats. Go ahead and underline the stressed syllables and draw slashes between the feet so you can physically see that drum loop. Step 2. Track the breaks. Draw arrows where the syntax runs on into the next line so you can visualize the speed and the flow. And step 3. Name the payoff. Right there in the margins, write down the feeling. Ask yourself, what does this specific sound choice make me feel that a normal prose paragraph wouldn't? So, here is your chance to prove you fully mastered the studio. Here are your 5 homework assignments. Define meter, describe iambic pentameter, explain the mood of a steady rhythm, give an example of enjambment, and describe the effect of broken rhythm. Teachers, feel free to just pause the explainer right here for a minute so the students can get these jotted down in their notebooks. Section 6. Smart Mind's Spiritual Peace. We spent all this time today mastering the academic rules of poetic rhythm. But at Smart Academy, we know that mastering literature is really only part of mastering life. Education without morality will hurt. That is a foundational truth of the Godly Learner series. Think about it. You can know all the rules of meter, you can be absolutely brilliant at spotting enjambment, you can be incredibly smart and highly educated, but if you lack the moral compass to guide all that intelligence, well, you'll inevitably end up making bad choices that cause a lot of pain to yourself and to the people around you. And that brings us to a really beautiful promise found in Romans 8, 6-7. The scriptures promise true peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. You see, biblical morality isn't there to restrict your intellect or hold you back. It's actually there to anchor it. It ensures that your brilliant, highly educated mind can actually operate in a state of deep, lasting peace rather than constantly spinning in chaos. It really forces us to stop and ask this challenging question. What is the actual point of being supposedly highly educated if you lack the morality to make choices that bring you true peace? Education gives you the tools, for sure, but biblical morality, that gives you the wisdom to use those tools correctly. They absolutely have to be intertwined. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought. You now know exactly how poets play skillfully on the strings of language to create a massive impact. But will you use your God-given education to make wise moral choices? Will you play skillfully on the strings of your own life to find ultimate peace? The rhythm you choose for your life is entirely up to you. Let's make it a masterpiece.